Hi there, I'm Barney Morin, a Franco-Manitoban Métis from la Riviera. I'm passionate about our local history. I teamed up with Shawn Brandson, some local chefs, and some local historians to teach us about the Franco-Manitoban culture, cuisine, and history. On va aller trouver de la bonne grub à manger, on va aller trouver des bonnes histoires, and we're gonna learn a little bit about ourselves. So, follow me and let's go find la bonne grub. Bonjour et salut! Bienvenue à La Cuisine for D'la Bonne Grub. I'm Barney Morin, your host for the show. This week we're going to be taking a look at some information about Treaty 1 with Steve Greyeyes at Lower Fort Garry. We're going to be visiting Arborg Bakeries where we're going to be getting the bread that we need to make some sandwiches. And we're also going to be making those sandwiches with Scott Huston from Lower Fort Garry's restaurant, Provisions. I'm going to wash my hands, going to put up my hair. You go ahead and meet Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Huston. I'm the chef at Provisions Cafe and Market at Lower Fort Garry. What got me into it in the first place is a long road. When I was young, I didn't really have much of a father figure. And so I would watch all my aunts and my mom and my grandma, especially my grandmother, huge influence, my grandmother, in the kitchen. And that just translated over into what I eventually wanted to do. I really enjoyed it, really loved it, and it's still going. I got into the industry when I was in my teens, just as a quick job. I knew exactly what to do already by then. I come from a line of people who worked in the kitchen, and I'd always wanted to do something else. You know, typical kid stuff, become a cop, pilot. I have a degree in classical history, but I always came back here. When I cook at home, it's often much more simple food. Just a lot of complicated recipes and showmanship goes on in cooking in the kitchen. So when I do it at home, there's some similar recipes, but it's a simplified version. I like easy, simple, quick things to make because I cook all day. So the last thing I want to do when I get home is cook some more. A typical day for me often involves just getting ready prep-wise. Especially out here, we have a lot of weddings that we cater to. That range often anywhere from 100 people to over 200. Probably sparks my creativity the most would be my grandmother. She was an amazing home cook who carried those skills into the restaurant. I never saw her use a measuring cup. I never saw her weigh anything out. She just kind of did it. And I notice as I go along in my professional career that I'm starting to get to that point. There's a lot of recipes, a lot of things that I make now where I don't even think about it. I just know what to put in and how much to put in to make it taste good. My specialty would have to be anything sauce related, but especially dressings. I love making salad dressings from scratch. Just really, really good, tasty, healthy even dressings. It's hard work. Guests and customers haven't really seen this yet, but we're actually going through a bit of a shortage in chefs lately because the new generation has come up and they've grown up with MasterChef, they've grown up with all these celebrity chefs where they go in, put in a couple months of work and they're head of a restaurant. But that takes years and hard work, and just you can't give up. It's going to get hard. You're going to hate your job. It's hard work. You have to really have a passion and a love for it.
Well, there you are. You're working hard, so hard in this kitchen, Scott.
Oh, barely. This is so easy. I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, Shaw's really good at making it look like you work really hard. No problem. Don't worry. Thanks for doing this for me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So you're actually, normally we film most of our D'la Bonne Grubs in here, but you're the chef. This is actually your kitchen.
Yeah. I've been out here for about 2 years now.
That's good. So, and being on this historical land is actually pretty important too, and it has a lot to do with what we're making here, because this where Provisions is actually where Lower Fort Garry is, and Lower Fort Garry has had some history. And so our theme today is actually the high tea sandwiches, but it's kind of a bit of an imposing thing for because when you would come here as a Hudson's Bay guy in Lower Fort Garry and expect and you're a big partner and you expect a high tea sandwich, it's kind of rare to get some of these ingredients here, right?
Yeah, some of the ingredients are pretty easy to come by, but a lot are harder. Like our ham and cheese sandwich right now we're using brie, which was a bit harder of a cheese, but they grew apples around here all the time. Cheaper of an alternative too, especially out here when things were so pricey. To make, so you weren't going to have scones and cake and everything with all your tea. You were going to choose something cheaper, something easier to make and tastier in my regards.
And you've told me a little bit about the 3 sandwiches we're going to make today, and it all looks like their strategic ingredients. Tell me what we're gonna make here.
Okay, so it's again, it's just a simple ham and cheese sandwich with a bit of, I guess, flair, if you will, for the richer English people that came here. So if you want, you can either cut up an apple or...
Okay, I'll take the apples, je vais prendre la pomme.
Yeah, just nice and thin slices, so it's easier if you, and then lay it down. Just lay it down.
Like this? Okay.
Yeah.
And then on the side.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, c'est
thin.
beau.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thin, that one's gonna have to learn its lesson there. How grueling is it for you to watch when other people cook around you?
Terribly, horribly. Like, I'm worried you're gonna cut your fingers off, tell the
No.
truth.
Well, that will be fine with. Luckily, there's some woodworking skills in my background that we can do this.
You want to grab the brie and cut them very similarly, nice thin slices as well. It's a very soft cheese. It melts really easily at room temperature.
Just a slice off like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just nice. So it's also very sticky cheese, so you guys kind of. So just grab some Arborg bread, spread some
look at that.
butter on it.
There you go. Okay. It's very simple.
Yeah. All these sandwiches I'm showing you today are designed to be just really quick, really easy to make. You don't need a lot of experience in the kitchen.
Toute l'heure beurre. Just un petit peu de beurre ici.
Yeah, that should be good. If you want, you can, pretty tasty ham. It's just anything you can get at your local supermarket or anything like that.
Okay, 1 or 2 pieces. What do we do?
Let's go 2. Let's
treat ourselves. Let's treat ourselves.
And then your apple and then cheese on top. Yes.
So then you do want to have that butter as a sort of layer in between. Classic gramature. Gotta be.
Classic grama. It's made so you're not eating them right now. You're eating them a bit later.
Okay.
The servants will make them now, and then the higher ups will eat them.
Right. I forgot to think of them as servants.
Yes.
We're gonna come back. And we got sandwich number 1 down. We're gonna come back. We're gonna make sandwich number 2.
Yes.
Very much. We got Scott Huston from Provisions at Lower Fort Garry on D'la Bonne Grub. We'll be right back. And welcome back to D'la Bonne Grub. We have Scott Huston here from Provisions. What's the next sandwich that we're gonna make the partner with? Happy with?
It's gonna be a Wonderbolt curry egg salad.
Okay.
Yeah, eggs were easy to come by, chickens everywhere, and then the Brits all love curry. Step number 1 would be boiling some eggs.
Okay.
You want them nice hard boiled for any eggs. The easiest thing for them to do is just put them in cold water to start. You turn it up to high, you boil them for about 10 minutes, and then you take it off heat and cover them when they're reach that time.
So tu le mets dans froid et tu mets dans un boil et tu veux que ça reste là pour à peu près 5 minutes avant qu'ils sont prêts. And then after they're boiling for 5 minutes, you take them off and cool them?
Yeah, you take them off, cover the pots, cover them, and then leave them for about another 10. So we got some curry, yellow curry, we got some paprika, salt, and pepper. For about 4 eggs, all you want to do is about a pinch of each, so it's about half a teaspoon. If you really want to measure it, it varies person to person. Each person I've talked to about egg salad does their egg salad different.
Okay.
There's always little subtle variations in spices. Some add celery, some add red peppers.
What we're gonna do right now, I think it's time, let's go check out where we get our bread from at Arborg Bakery. Let's get our bake on there, let the boiling go, and then we'll come back and we'll peel some eggs.
The bakery was built in 1942, so there's a lot of history, and it actually was passed down through a family for quite a number of years before it ended up with us. Our mixer comes at 4 o'clock in the morning. He kind of gets things going, and the baker comes between 4:30 and 5 and then starts with the baking part of it. Our storefront opens at 7, and so we have a lot of stuff ready by then. They like to stop in here and get their treats for their time at the cabin, and they'll pick up their donuts or ice cream or their bread and stuff. So we have a lot of that happening, especially in the summertime. People are crazy about the rye bread here. We use old traditional recipes that came over from Europe. People love it and they don't ever want us to change it. You ask people in the community or even out of the community, that's what they love about the Arborg Bakery. We service a lot of the restaurants and stores in the Interlake. We go all the way up to Stonewall, and then we go up north as well. It's really great to have the support of the community and surrounding towns. They appreciate how homemade it is, they appreciate how personal it is, and I think people miss that. People really like to talk to a voice, and they like to be able to feel like they're calling up a friend, and they love it. So we want to provide that service for them.
What an interesting place, and we're happy to be making some delicious sandwiches with their bread. So the eggs have boiled.
Yes.
It's now time to peel off the shell. But you said there's a special way to do it. I was just gonna go willy-nilly.
Just give it a good crack. Just break the
okay,
and then roll it.
Okay. Oh, like roll it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get the shell breaking nice. Get it in the water and start peeling it in the water.
Okay.
See how easy that is? Look at that. It just comes right off.
Okay, so I should actually crack it when I'm rolling, and I should crack it a little more than what I was doing.
Yeah, just gets you want to do the other 3 as well?
Sure. Or do you want to help me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll do this. Look at that. So I'm cracking it all over the place here. Let's do it here. You see it? Roll all over that. Get that. We have our eggs. They're ready to go. I've never made egg salad before.
Oh, it's
so walk
super
me through
easy.
this.
So just take your seasonings that you plan on using.
Okay. And how much are we putting in of each?
Just like a little, like half a teaspoon, just a little pinch. Yeah.
A little pinch here. We're making it à la style ma mère, so we'll just put a little pinch. Pinch of pepper.
Pinch of salt as well.
Pinch of salt. A little bit of curry.
Curry, yeah.
A little bit of curry there.
And paprika.
And paprika. Okay.
So again, at this point, normally you would add your celery or your peppers, anything else you might want in it, the other accoutrement.
Accoutrements.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
And you just take a fork and you just mash them.
Mash them, okay? I'm all over it. Check this out.
Some people like to pre-slice the eggs too. Makes it easier for them to mash them.
Okay.
So,
Pre-slicing.
As a cook, when I do big batches of it, I just get a fine mesh strainer thing and just rub them again and just shreds them.
OK.
Yeah.
So, si vous avez votre propre style à mélanger les œufs, c'est correct. Si vous ne faites pas la même manière que nous autres, on ne va pas être fâchés du tout. So, how small do I want to get all this?
As whatever your taste dictates. That should be actually really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice and full-bodied.
Okay.
Thumpy, yeah. So now we can take our bread. Again, same thing, butter.
Butter.
Just a bit of butter on it. Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Un rappel, on met le beurre dessus 2 bords, puis ça garde le moisture des 2 bords, que le pain va pas être trop moist, on va dire, ensemble. Everyone's favorite word. Okay, so we had the butter on there. This one, and like we've been saying this whole time, these little breads, these little sandwiches, they're very simple, but it's the attention to detail and mixing them together that makes them good.
Oh, yeah. I find simple is often the way to go. It's really tasty.
Is that why we're friends?
Yeah.
All right, let's put some of that on there. Okay.
It makes me feel better to be friends with simple.
There you go. Well,
okay, yeah.
Is that enough?
Plenty, yeah.
Okay.
Put your top part on.
Okay. So we'll pair this. We'll put this right beside with our other sandwich, and we still got one sandwich left to go. Actually.
Yes, this is probably the easiest and I don't want to say most culture, but it speaks volumes to the English imperialism.
Well, if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. We're going to be right back. We're actually going to learn a little bit about Treaty 1 at Lower Fort Garry, and we're going to be making our 3rd and final sandwich. Stay tuned, D'la Bonne Grub. Et re-bienvenue à La Bonne Grub in La Cuisine. Well, it's actually Scott's kitchen. He cooks here for Provisions, but he's letting us use it. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no problem.
And we're making some high tea English sandwiches, okay? So we've already made a brie ham and cheese one.
Yes.
And then we've already made an egg salad sandwich, curry egg salad sandwich. Yes. And now the last one. I don't remember what's all in this one. Can you tell me what's in this one, Scott?
This is probably the most complicated one we have. It's cucumber and butter.
Okay. We'll have a list for the audience here for the recipe on that one.
If you can't remember.
It's very simple, right? But it tastes amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, get me started. Get me started on this.
All right, so grab your cucumbers, slice them nice and thin.
Show me and then I'll do it. Okay. Oh, I got it. I got it now.
Yeah.
Watch it. All over it. All day. It's a
That
little
way
thick.
it's on a bias, it's prettier, it's,
Okay. And I guess you want it to cover more of the sandwich. It looks a little...
Definitely, yeah.
And
All right, that should be more than enough for what we
Pang
need.
no comb. We have cucumbers. You know what, Scott? I'm gonna guess how we make this sandwich. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark on this one. Okay.
All right, so while you do that, I'll let you do that, and I'll let you know a little bit about the cucumber sandwich. And how's that?
Sure. Okay.
All right, so it may be simple, but it's got a wonderful, as I said, root in British imperialism.
Okay.
So when their explorers were going out and about, conquering and taking over and exploring, general stuff, in the hotter climates, they were always looking for ways to keep cool.
Right.
And through some experimentation, they found out cucumbers work really well for that.
Because of all the hydration and everything,
There
right?
are tons of water in them. They're pretty much water itself.
Yeah.
So they incorporated it, and it worked really well.
Because a cucumber's very easy to grow here. Like when the first, like when Lower Fort Garry, the Hudson's Bay Company, when it settled here,
Yeah.
their first garden, theoretically, as long as they had the seeds with them, you know.
It would have been, yes, very similar things to cucumber and anything else that's easy, because I assume they were not familiar really too much with what the soil could support at the time.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So.
you know, forgot a little bit of a
Oh, okay. There's
little
more.
bit of seasoning, just a little bit, just to
Okay.
add a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. Put a pinch, and you top. Okay, and you do the salt.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. Again, just a little pinch, just something to give a little bit of flavor to.
Okay. So we have our third sandwich now. We're gonna, before we start to taste all our sandwiches, faut qu'on apprend un petit peu. On va aller se coucher un petit peu moins niaiseux. You know what that means? We're gonna go to bed a little less stupid. This is what we're gonna do, okay?
Yeah,
We're gonna learn a little bit. And on these very same lands, there's a very important treaty that was signed, Treaty Number 1. And we're gonna talk with Steve Greyeyes from Lower Fort Garry about Treaty 1. Hey, welcome to my house! Just kidding, we're at Lower Fort Garry to talk with Steve Greyeyes about Treaty 1. Alright, I'm joined here now with Steve Greyeyes from Lower Fort Garry. Thanks, Steve. I need information, okay?
Sure.
I'm not a smart guy, you know this, okay?
You're smart.
Somewhat, okay? I need to fill in the gaps of Treaty 1. We're on the grounds now. It's a super important historical event that happened in the Winnipeg history. What happened? What was the first intentions of this whole thing?
The first intentions was looking for a way to share the land, and so Canada wanted to get a hold of what's now southern Manitoba for settlement, so people from Ontario or people from Europe could come over here and settle. First Nations people wanted an agreement so that they could retain some of their land base and some of their way of life in the face of that settlement, and so that's what Treaty 1 was about.
So, and then how did this agreement come about? Because we talk about often the piece of paper that was signed, but there's also the entire First Nations side of the treaty that was, because that's not a piece of paper.
Absolutely. So First Nations, by the time you get to 1870, First Nations are really experienced with treaties. They're making treaties with each other, and from time out of memory, First Nations communities and nations had treaties with each other, but also that these folks here in the what's now the Winnipeg area knew about the treaties that had been signed out in the Great Lakes.
Okay. So they're ready to do what are the specifics of this treaty when they're having this, like, because there's probably an offering or there's like a week of ceremony or something like that?
Well, they came here to Lower Fort Garry to do the negotiation, and so certainly there would have been ceremony at that time during the negotiation. So you'd negotiate during the day, and then you'd go back and talk to people, because your First Nations chiefs, they are community leaders, but they're not the sole decision makers. And so they're going to go back, they're going to maybe go into ceremony, they're going to consult with elders, they're going to consult with the women, and then they're going to come back and negotiate again the next day. And so Treaty 1 it wasn't just come here and sign the paper, it was actually a process of negotiation.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about the specifics of the actual treaty, what that entailed for both sides?
The Canadians wanted to get a hold of a large tract of land. The First Nations said that they wanted their reserves to be about a third the size of the original province of Manitoba. So you remember the little postage stamp province? First Nations said, well, we essentially want about a third of that for reserves. And the Canadians said, no, we can't do that. And so there was a negotiation back and forth, and some of the things that we actually don't have really good records of during that negotiation process, but ultimately the First Nations signed on to it. And that's the basis for the reserved First Nation communities that we have today.
Okay, and then now let's fast forward 2017.
Yep.
We now see, and a lot of times when you see in speeches or politicians speaking, or when people have conferences, they'll recognize Treaty 1 land. They'll say they'll honor that. But what does that mean? Is that empty words? Is that just saying, hey, we're on Treaty 1 land. We didn't really do anything about it, but we're on Treaty 1 land.
No, I don't think they are empty words. I mean,
Okay.
that's a step towards better understanding of who we are and why we're here, because Treaty 1 isn't just about First Nations, and that's the important thing to remember. Treaty 1 binds all Canadians with the First Nations communities into an ongoing relationship. So it isn't like we're going to sign it and forget about it. We're signing it, and the treaty is still a living document today. So it's part of our law, and we have the treaty is the basis. That's how Canada and Manitoba can exist here on the traditional homelands of the Anishinaabe and Cree.
Okay, that was going to be one of my last questions. Was going to be which First Nations were a part of, like, because it was Chief Peguis's son that was a part of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he's the guy that we know as Henry Prince. And so there are 7 Treaty 1 First Nations, and the bulk of the Treaty 1 First Nations are Anishinaabe, but there were also Cree who were involved in the signing.
Okay, cool. And for a modern day perspective now, again a little bit, what does that sort of mean now with that negotiations? Do you think is it a framework for continued reconciliation, or like what can this bring for our future of Canadian reconciliation?
Well, I think that the treaties are maybe twofold. That one, that they actually apply today, and you have that's the basis for things like First Nations reserves. It's the basis for hunting and fishing rights, for example. There were promises for education in there. So that's the living document that we have today, but it's also just a really interesting part of our history. And that's one of the great things about being in Lower Fort Garry or Selkirk or Winnipeg, is that we're living right in historic country, fur trade country, First Nations history, the treaties. It was all right here in our area.
Cool. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thanks for visiting us.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for, c'est la temps pour la grande reveal, okay? So nous autres, on va finalement manger nos sandwichs. So Scott, let's try to enjoy these, okay?
Yeah,
if we can,
sure.
let's try to do it.
I
So
like that.
on va commencer avec couper our egg salad. So we kind of cut it in half, but I want to be able to share it with you. So I'm going to share it with you. There, just one thing.
Yeah, just press it right down. That's the kind of knife it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got it. So we have
Yeah.
egg salad,
Look at
curry
that
egg salad.
fall apart really nice.
And it's soft.
That's good.
Cheers, my
Cheers.
friend.
One bite.
Okay, okay. This is fine. So,
You make a good egg salad, my friend.
I learned from the best.
Oh, thank you.
The curry's good, and the softness of the bread is really nice. You're right, simplicity is really good because the spices do the work for you. Everything else is done.
Definitely. Yep. That's
All right.
all it is. Let's move some of that out of the way.
I'm actually been most excited for the cucumber, so let's save that one for last.
Sounds good.
Because I brie and ham and apple. That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be delicious.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go one.
Right down. There you go.
Nice. I think I'm cut out for this, eh?
It's terrible. Terrible.
Come on.
Your wit is razor sharp.
Nice. Thank you. Cut above the rest. Okay, let's try this out. I think my jokes were just like this sandwich. Not too cheesy. They were just good. Okay, so I'm just being a big ham.
You're stealing all the good ones.
Okay, sorry. That's, again, the simplicity is key with this.
Yeah. All the flavors are there. It's not complicated. It's just something you can make at home.
Do you have more fruit, any other fruit ideas that you put in a sandwich like this? Like something similar, maybe if you don't have an apple?
If I don't have an apple, yeah. Strawberries, to tell the truth. They offer a really good tartness that I really like. Normally, we have a red apple here, which is more traditional, but I normally like tart and sour, so I'll use Granny Smith apples or strawberries, or works really well with ham.
I like the strawberries mixing with the ham. All right, let us go now to the most simple sandwich. Juste un petit peu de beurre, juste des concombres. Un petit peu de sel et poivre, one cut. All right, so an English high tea sandwich, just cucumbers, butter.
And that's all there is?
The KISS model, keep it simple, Sam. We did it. We did it. So just an easy hike, a whole bunch of sandwiches. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you for being here. I love sharing my kitchen with you.
Because you're pretty lonely in here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so thank you very much to Scott from Provisions at Lower Fort Garry for the high tea sandwiches. It is now time to find a pairing for these high tea sandwiches. What could go good with high tea sandwiches?
Coffee.
You're close, Scott. You're almost a professional.
Darn.
Tea. Let's go to Shawn Brandson now and get a delicious tea pairing for these sandwiches. We're here now with Shawn Brandson, food and beverage manager at Provisions, to enjoy some fancy tea. Because enjoying tea in the fur trade era is a bit of a luxury, and I know you're a guy of luxury, so let's get into some of this.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of tea wasn't pinkies up. It didn't really happen at that time. But yeah, well, first we'll start off with making a tea.
Okay.
The way we would do nowadays. This is a Brut, which is a tea dispenser that's new, in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's a great little unit. So we're gonna put a nice heaping teaspoon of tea in there, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, and then we'll settle and we'll give it 2 minutes.
We'll give it some water.
So a lot of the tea that had to come here, a lot of the stuff, it had to come from away. There wasn't indigenous people making these teas or making these kind of fancy things. So tell us a little bit more where some of this stuff was coming from.
Yeah, so basically it was coming from China, it was coming from Asia, it was coming from those places. And I mean, during the fur trade in the 1800s, there was trade around the world. And where they got their tea was from China. And it came in it came in these tea tiles. And this is a tea towel, so this is compressed black tea.
Okay.
And what's cool about it is it has all these little, you can divide it into certain rations and stuff like that.
Okay.
But this tea towel would last a long time. This is like the wholesale kind of way that they would ship it. It would transport really well in fur packs, but then also whenever someone had a hard day, they wanted a nice beverage on the fire, they would boil some water, take their knife, shave off some of the tea.
I was like, how do you eat that? Okay,
you
shave it.
Okay. It's hard to eat it. And then basically, yeah, they would steep it, and then you would have a nice beverage that didn't just taste like water. So,
like warm water.
Yeah, warm water. So, yeah, and then sometimes you'd take berries and things like that and put it in it just to enhance the flavor, but typically it was just the tea.
So that's where the tea tiles came from. Where did the actual, I mean, this is going to sound like a silly word, where did the China come from?
Oh, okay. Well, I think China, yeah,
okay.
China pretty much. And that's where it came from. So they were shipping the tea around. They also had the China, but I mean, the tea towel would be very easily wrapped inside the furs.
Okay.
The China was a little bit more problematic. And certainly at Lower Fort Garry, that sort of the tea experience and everything was really important. So what they would do is take the China and everything like that, put it in barrels, and then fill it with molasses. So
weird.
What was great is that this could be shipped certainly across the ocean, but in canoes it was pretty stable, and the molasses would protect the China from chipping, and then they had their way of getting sugar and stuff like that to Lower Fort Garry as well.
Here you go. So just a big scoop of molasses every time you wanted a cup of
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, well, a lot of it went to the store, and then they would ration it out and provision it out and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that's the way it was. But tea through time, basically, we started with tea tiles. Then we have something like red rose, which is certainly very familiar to everyone, which is more of a ground up tea kind of aspect. Nowadays we have orange pico that is whole leaf, it's dried whole leaf.
Oh, okay.
The essential oils are trapped inside, and it makes a really nice sort of flavor.
So they're relatively the same thing then. This is just a full leaf now then.
Full leaf, so basically as they pick it, as they age it, and it becomes oxidized to turn into tea, there's some finings, things that break off at the bottom. That's what they'll use in these bags.
Okay.
Now we have this. So I think we're about ready for the tea.
Yeah.
It's orange pico is actually called orange pico because it's orange. I think for the first 10 years of my life I was drinking black pico because it got so dark. If you steep it too long, then it turns quite dark.
Okay.
So the cool thing about this Brut is that you just actually push it on the top of the cup, and it dispenses the beverage.
Nice.
It filters it and puts it on there.
That's very
We could
convenient.
have a whole talk about that if we wanted. But, yeah. So the tea.
Oh, see, I'll grab the whole saucer. I was gonna grab the whole
Yes.
saucer like you. Got to be fancy.
Yeah, fancy.
Okay.
Okay, pinky up. No.
Pinky up.
Yeah.
No, I don't have
So-
a movable pinky.
No, you don't.
Much more flavor than just a simple one.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in there.
A lot of flavor. The bitterness is there, but not overpowering. It's got a nice tea, great for energy, and yeah, it was a fantastic little beverage.
Well, there you go.
Consumed.
One of the second most consumed beverages in the world, something the voyageurs had to have, and especially the hoity-toity Lower Fort Garry partners. Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Thank you very much, Barney.
Un gros merci, a big thank you to the chefs, the historians, everyone for making this episode happen. We learned a little bit, on a mangé bon. Hopefully tonight we'll go to bed un petit peu moins niaiseux. Stay tuned to Shaw TV for more episodes of D'la Bonne Grub. And until next time, à la prochaine!